So, good afternoon. This is Stephen Parker here. I'm the CEO of Crypterium, and we thought it would be good for a change to hear from me as opposed to hearing from Austin all the time. So, you request to see me from time to time, so here I am. So, giving you an update on Crypterium's July results and where we are generally, as we do every month, to try and be transparent as possible. I have a number of things to talk about. So let's start. So I reckon it'll probably take less than an hour. We had a few questions coming in, which I shall also answer, and then updates on things you'd expect. So today I'm going to go through, first of all, an update on our July product releases and updates, and also where we are in the business. I will then move on to service improvements, something we've been putting a lot of time and effort into in the last month or two, and I'll come to that in a minute. Also, our exchange vision, which is very much linked also to token burning, and for CRPT token holders, the sorts of things we're trying to do to ensure that we are supporting the price of our utility token and making sure that we are very present in the market. I'll then go through the product roadmap, and as I said, we will also take the questions that were sent in advance. Where are we? So July updates. So we have been making some tweaks to the product. And obviously our goal is, our vision remains really be the easiest way to buy, sell, send, exchange, deposit or borrow cryptocurrencies with as much advice and guidance as we can give you with our regular blogs and updates and with our AI probability of price indicator. So ramp off and ramp on, as they call it, in terms of fiat currency into crypto and out again is really important. As you know, recently we introduced IBAN, which means you can now ramp on through bank transfer, which is great. And we have introduced, after a long and arduous process of compliance with Visa, cash out to a Visa card, which is called OCT. We don't have it technically working precisely correctly at the moment, so we're looking at that. We're trying to fix that as soon as possible. But obviously, for some time, we've had cashing out to MasterCard and anywhere in the world. And now we have the facility also to do that to Visa, and we need to iron out the bugs to make sure that that works well. A critical issue for us, and you have really made your views known through ambassadors, is to improve our levels of customer service. And one way we're doing that is we are now going to use our social media streams purely for social media and marketing. We have far too many scams, far too many of the wrong things going through those channels. They should more be about product updates, latest exciting news, marketing initiatives such as currently being able to buy CRPT without any commission at all, for example, and channel our service into the new community management. So social media will no longer now be used for support. Obviously, you might use the social media channel as a means to get to our support, but the new community management team of a team of 5 people, which includes Shant, who is today answering your questions on the chat. They are completely dedicated to this, and they will work with you directly. They will never contact you in advance. So again, watch out for scams. Our support will never contact you out of the blue or ask you for anything. They will only respond to your needs for a service issue or trying to resolve something. And again, be very careful with the address that you use and make sure it's the right Crypterium address in terms of our new community management team. So we see this as a big step forward in terms of the provision of service to you, specialized team, specialized channels, social media for marketing and for exciting news and the right things. So that was very much feedback from our ambassador group, and we're very happy to be able to invest in that and provide levels of customer service directly through a specialized team. Now you can order the card also, our wonderful Visa card provided by our partner Walletto, through the web, not just through the mobile. So we are actually upgrading our web facility quite a lot to make sure that it is in line with our mobile app. So we're investing in our web facility. And as we talked about last time, big ambition for us in 2021 is to launch a Visa card in the US. We have now signed formal terms with a partner called Cascade in the US, who are really great crypto specialists, and we hope to be able to launch that by the end of the year. So we have regular project meetings, and that project is going extremely well, and we're very happy to have such a high quality partner who in fact were introduced to us through Visa. We are part of the US Visa Fast Track program. We got certified for that, and so this is part of Visa's Fast Track crypto program for fintechs that they respect and they have vetted. So we're really happy that that is going well, and we've signed terms and are launching. We have a deadline to launch by the end of the year. We haven't got seeders on here, but for those of you wondering, the final piece of the puzzle to close the seeders round was an appropriate bank account in Estonia. Nothing is ever simple in the crypto world, so seeders' attempt to do this didn't quite happen, but we now believe that we have found a solution, and we hope to close, and we aim to close the seeders funding formally, officially, in the next 7 to 10 days, and therefore all the funds will be drawn down, and we can move on with the wonderful 3 million plus euros that investors have placed in us, with us through seeders, and invested in Crypterium and Crypterium's vision. So that was some of the things that we introduced in July, and to give you a quick view on business performance, as we said before, in future we will now give a much more formal business performance update to our seeders investors on a quarterly basis. So the monthly review will be at a much higher level, more trends, and we won't be providing precise figures for everything. Suffice to say, with all that's been going on in the crypto market, we saw today Bitcoin going down again below 30K. Volumes in our key card pay-in and exchange have gone down. They're still more than they were late last year, but they have gone down from some of the volumes they were earlier in the year. Our gross profit nonetheless remains reasonable, and we grew our user base by about 6% over the last month to now 434,000 users. So we feel that's good, steady growth. And also the number of card applications remains very strong, with now virtual cards as popular as the physical cards. So introduction of the virtual card to make it instantaneous almost in terms of getting a card has been very popular, and we're now issuing as many virtual cards as we are physical cards. So the other key thing here is that our B2B offering remains extremely popular. We've signed up 11 new partners, and as we can see, the impact on our new registered users means that now we have a significant number of new registered users each month from the B2B channel, and not just our direct-to-consumer B2C channel, which is very pleasing. So we are having, I would say, steady growth. We're happy where we are, and this gives us some breathing space, because I think some of the story that you would have heard before and seen is, the sort of amazing, crazy growth that we had from, say, November through to March did have a downside, and that was that our customer service levels really slipped far below where we wanted them to be. As a result, many of you have been very vociferous even using words like us being a scam. So we are very sensitive to this. We want to be as professional as possible. And the good news is we've put a lot of effort, a lot of investment. We've hired new people, including, for example, the community engagement team. We're seeing things getting much better. So you can see the satisfaction rate at the bottom. This is after the first line of support, which generally will resolve most complaints. And the satisfaction rate that we do online, we give you all a chance to fill in the satisfaction survey once the complaint has been resolved, has gone up to 85%. Our goal was to have it at above 80%. I think 85% is great, and we'll certainly try and attempt to keep it at those sorts of levels. So we measure this very, very carefully along the whole value chain. So we measure, for example, the number of support queries, complaints, fraud inquiries, things that go to compliance. We measure our customer service journey all along the process chain with clear metrics, and we see at the beginning of that value chain the number of complaints has halved from about 20,000 a month it was running at its peak, now down to about 10,000, which is probably still far too many, but that is a good trend. Satisfaction rate has gone up. And also a critical thing is we are resolving them much, much quicker. So again, to give you some examples, within 1 hour, resolution of a complaint earlier in the year was running at only 20 to 30% of complaints. We've now got that up to 41% resolved within 1 hour, and we want to keep on going and get that above half and onwards and upwards. And the number of complaints which was taking more than 24 hours to resolve was 10 to 15% earlier in the year, and it is now down just to 3%, and I think we want to get that to 0. So the growth that we had early in the year had its upsides in terms of our revenues, our success, our ability to introduce new products and services to you all. The downside, of which we were very conscious, was the whole customer complaints and queries. We're not alone. I think you'll see in the press that Coinbase's biggest issue is they barely even give responses to many of their customer complaints. Revolut has had the same issue. So I think the industry, the fintech industry, it's something that it can't be proud of, but it's something we want to be proud of, that we actually have put serious effort against this so that we can respond to you as quickly as possible and give you as much satisfaction as we are able in terms of our responses. So a lot of effort there. Strongly linked to this, though, is fraud. And fraud is a huge issue for fintechs and for crypto. And there are two parts to this. Obviously, we do not wish you to be defrauded. We don't want somebody to be running away with your money, which is why we have two-factor authentication in many parts of our process, and why we really need to check that you are who you say you are, and that you are doing things in ways that follow regulation. Because the second key piece here is regulation. And the regulators are getting stricter and stricter. They are very worried about money laundering. They're very worried about terrorist financing. So in all jurisdictions, whether it's normal financial services, fintech or crypto, regulators are becoming more and more strict. And what this means is, since we're a serious quality player, is we also need to have very strong fraud controls. The downside of that is that it creates a great deal of friction in the customer experience, and we know that we could do better. And we have some goals now to very much speed up the processing of customer requests that are due to our fraud controls, to release the money to you within, say, 30 minutes. If we've blocked those funds and said we couldn't transfer them in some way, at least give them back to you as opposed to keeping them blocked, which has been a real source of dissatisfaction. And just quickly turn around from fraud to customer service in terms of our responses to you. As part of that, again, we are investing some of our new funds into expanding the team and looking for qualified specialists in this area, the sort of interface between fraud and customer service. And at the core, we have a whole set of technology around KYC, Know Your Customer, AML, anti-money laundering. These are the areas that regulators are very, very hot on and want to know what our technology is. And so we are improving that whole technology stack. And there are ways for us to be more clever and do lighter touch checks in the background, which can give us more automated, quicker responses and transparently protect you and give you quicker turnarounds so that you are protected, but with less customer experience friction. So we're working, I wanted specifically to talk about those two areas today. Austin and myself get a lot of direct requests. We had seen it very much in our social media. We're working on it, we're investing on it, and already we can see significant improvements in terms of the satisfaction rates, in terms of customer complaint resolution, reduction in number of complaints, and the turnaround of our complaints or fraud handling. We'll come back to that also when I look at the product roadmap a little bit. Another key question that you ask us all the time, the CRPT token holders, is what are you doing to make sure that CRPT tokens are more widely available and that the value is fully justified and created? And I'll talk later about burning, but we have been looking at which exchanges should be on. We are now on 4 of the top exchanges with very significant volumes, with household names in the crypto space. And we continued to speak to exchanges. And our view here is that we see no value in going to much smaller exchanges. There are literally hundreds of exchanges. And again, Austin and I probably get almost daily requests to list on some small exchange that has decided to start up in some country or other. Our view is that it's not worthwhile being on those exchanges, and what we should be on is a small number of very large exchanges. But the issue there is that this can be very, very expensive, and some of these very large exchanges are asking as much as $3 million just to sign up, basically just to be part of the exchange, if you want to go there quickly, if you want to be listed tomorrow. So our approach here is, although it may not be quick, is the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise still won, is to have discussions, build relationships with this handful of key large exchanges, and gradually work our way to value for money listings, where we are listed in more of the large exchanges, but in ways that don't just burn $3 million of our money, which we don't see as worthwhile, and your investment in Crypterium. So we hope to have news of that. I would say now by the end of the year is realistic. It's taken longer than we expected, but we have a very clear vision, and we will be listing on some of the larger exchanges. Moving on. So, as I said, the market has quietened a bit, and this does give us breathing space to re-engineer our product roadmap at the same time as we improve our service levels, and they are linked. So where we were previously is that our core architecture was basically serving all purposes. It was for retail, it was for B2B, even though there might be some big differences in what the B2B customers wanted. For example, mass payments, or dedicated token custody. Therefore, we are moving now to a much cleaner architecture where we will have a set of core services which are needed for both our B2B offering and our retail offering, things such as card payout and obviously key exchange functions, but then things that are specialized, they will be within their own iteration of our product architecture. You should start to have seen the actual results of this recently, in that things for our retail customers would have be faster to load. Our functionality should be quicker, more seamless. So although this is sort of rebuilding the foundations to a degree, there will be a much more noticeable difference in terms of the way that the app works, the speed with which the app works, and also being able to offer a much more refined service to both our B2B customers and our retail customers. So that is also linked to the service piece. And in terms of new product offerings and service offerings, we believe that we pretty much have the full set. We don't see that we can provide much more in terms of the sort of things our customers want. And we have below the vision, which is maintained as our vision. So being able to buy, send, exchange, cash out. Currently we have deposit, we have some really good rates in CRPT. You can get crypto loans, again, with very low rates. And we continue to enhance the functionality of the Crypterium Visa card by having virtual cards, by launching a card in the US by the end of the year. And then we will be launching cards in other major markets over the years. And then our price prediction functionality, as far as we know, is unique in the market. Obviously, you access that through paying or through being on higher tiers of our crypto offering. But we feel this is a fantastic set of products and services. And at this stage, we really don't want to add more, just enhance what we're offering, make it easier to use, and just be the best in the market. Which comes to some of the questions, in fact. So we received 3 questions before the webinar. And the first one was, what would make mainstream US people or customers use Crypterium instead of just their usual bank? With the clock ticking faster than ever, is Crypterium still on track at least to benefit from the position of an early player in a market which could very soon become overcrowded? And this is based on recent announcements with people like Visa through Silvergate, FIS, and their partners, enabling mainstream banks to be able to provide crypto services to their customers. And our view is that the crypto market is still pretty immature and in its early stages. So we believe that there is plenty of room for multiple players. We still see ourselves as being unique in terms of our global reach, and also our ability to offer services to businesses. And we think the entrance of mainstream players is a positive. Regulators are still pretty down on crypto. And as more and more mainstream players come on board, the regulators will have to sort themselves out, particularly in the US. There was a very interesting article the other day around just the SEC right hand, left hand not knowing what it's doing, and that there is no consistent approach in the US to regulation, and that this is needed. And I think the more mainstream players we have in the market, the more they will be clamoring for a consistent regulatory stance, which can only help facilitate the industry. For analogy, I think we can look at retail in a sense. So, banks are general supermarkets. They do offer everything already. They offer things like general insurance in many markets, fund supermarkets. So they have many, many different products on their shelves. They're like some big supermarket, but the pricing and the quality will always be average. And we see ourselves very much as a specialist boutique, and what we can do through that is offer, great pricing, like currently commission-free or low commission rates on many of the things we do, and much more tailored products and services to you, such as having different cards in different regions. So that would be our view. We would welcome more players coming into the market and it becoming more mainstream. We do not see it as a threat. And our early mover advantage, I think, sets us up well as a specialist boutique. in our global positioning and our ability to understand the market and provide the right sort of services. A second question was, is there any update on our registration with the FCA? And for you who follow these types of things, the FCA has only registered permanently a handful, literally 5 or 6 crypto players in the UK, despite the fact there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications. We continue to be able to jump through all the hoops. So the last hoop, which I think was somewhere around March or so, another couple of hundred players were kindly requested to withdraw. Whereas at Crypterium, we were given temporary registration through to March 2022. In the last week, we have received a few more questions. They're very minor, they're marginal questions, which we believe we can answer satisfactorily. And so at this stage, our UK entity, Continuous Rapid Payment Technologies, CRPT for short, we do believe that we can actually satisfy the UK requirements for the UK regulator, and we seem to be on track for FCA registration, but you can never tell. But we are, we have not, in a horse race, we haven't fallen at any of the, many of the first fences, unlike hundreds of other players, we're still in the horse race. There was a third question that came through Telegram a bit late from somebody called Denise, which was about Google Pay. And we have before stated, Google Pay is on the roadmap, we will get there, but we depend on our card provider. And this comes back also a little bit to, for example, the fraud controls. So the fraud controls are not just things that we do. Fraud controls are also what our partners, particularly our car partners, do. So Willetto, as our car partner, says that Google Pay is in their plan, but we don't yet have a firm date for that. One of the good reasons for joining Cascade in the US is that they already have Google Pay. So when we start issuing our US card, it will automatically have Google Pay. But obviously this is something we know that many of you like, Google Pay, so it's something we'll be working with Walletto. And when it comes to cards, some of the fraud controls and stoppages that are happening are not within Crypterium's hands. They're either card provider, card in, card payout, or Walletto, in that the sort of regulations and restrictions that they have to follow are also very strict around fraud. Again, it's all to protect customers, but doesn't necessarily improve the customer experience. The last piece of thing I'll talk about today is the token burn. And just for some of you on the call who may not have the history, CRPT started off as the issuance of a utility token in late 2017. At the time, it was one of the most successful ICOs, initial coin offerings, in terms of the number of token holders. And this was the basis of our investment and our success. And around that time, around 99 million or so CRPT tokens were issued. They are utility tokens. So they're not a security, they're not seen as a currency, they're not a stable coin. They are what's called a utility token. And they are the commission or gas which is needed on the CRPT app, on the Crypterium app, to be able to do crypto to fiat transactions. And this is a very nice sort of self-balancing mechanism, because the more business we do, the more crypto to fiat transactions that occur, the more commissions are taken, the more gas that is burnt. It's 0.05% of the transaction, and the more CRPT tokens get burnt and disappear. And of course, in theory, the less CRPT tokens there are, the more they should be worth. Now, that doesn't quite work in a market where all altcoins may be in a bearish run, as we are currently. But over the long term, as the supply reduces, the value should go up. So the whole idea here is that as Crypterium became more successful, burnt more tokens as gas, less CRPT tokens in the market, and therefore the potential higher value of the CRPT token. That we understand from token holders is probably not enough. And so we have committed to a program over the next 2 years to make sure that we destroy at least 30% of the tokens. And we have started that. So just in the last week, we have bought in and burnt 1 million tokens. So now you will see on the main ERC20 trackers like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko that we are down to 97.5 million tokens when we started off at a supply which was finite, would never be increased, of 99 million. And we will be burning millions of tokens over the coming weeks, over the coming years, so that in the end we do bring the supply of CRPT tokens down to 70% of the original number. So we hear you. We believe that as the business grows and these are used as fuel, as gas, and as we burn tokens from the market, this should bring an uplift to CRPT tokens in a way that would make us all happy, all of those of us who own CRPT tokens. So that is the update, and I suppose to just summarize, it's certainly quieter in the market. We have continued to roll out some functionality. We're targeting the new Visa US card by the end of the year, but we have used this opportunity to really up our game in service and the customer experience around fraud. So we are seeing early results of that with the reduction in the number of complaints, much higher satisfaction levels, and much quicker turnaround times, and the new dedicated community engagement team is a key part of that. Our B2B business continues to thrive, and the business generally is having good, steady growth. And in terms of the product roadmap, re-engineering our product architecture so that we now have a core service with dedicated functionality for retail and B2B as necessary, which again should improve the way the app works, speed, the ease of use. And in the background, taking some measures in terms of our exchange listings and token burn to long-term increase the value of CRPT. And in the meantime, we do not see entrance of mainstream players as something that is to be feared in any way. We welcome it. We see ourselves as a serious quality boutique player. And we think we have a strong market niche which we can continue to grow. And on the regulation front, which remains very hot in all sorts of areas, we seem to be doing well on the FCA registration and hope that that will continue. So that's all from me, and hopefully if we need to follow up on any of the questions, we'll do so, but I believe the chat should also have been answering some of those questions. Thank you very much, as always, for being our supporters, for being our customers, for being our token holders. And we wish you a good summer or winter, depending on which part of the world you are. Very hot summer here in the UK, so it's not only burning in the Crypterium engine room, it's also burning outside a little. So thank you very much indeed. Stay well in these pandemic times, and we look forward to giving you another update in a month's time.